Hi, I'm Darlene Carman.
And I'm Doug Carman.
And welcome to the show. On Saturday, May 21st, Sunnyvale will host the 31st Annual Hands on the Arts Festival. This event will feature more than 30 creative workshops where children can participate in a wide variety of arts and crafts. We have with us Michele-Bridget Ragsdale, Community Service Coordinator for the festival, and two of the workshop artists, Mark Whitney and James Green. Also, I'll be sharing my project for this year's event as well. So, hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome to everybody out there.
Hi, guys.
So, Michele-Bridget, can you give us some details for this year's Hands on the Arts?
Sure. Well, we've been working on preparing for the festival since early fall. So far we have more than 30 artists coming back for the different workshops and booths that'll be both outside and inside on the community center campus. And then also we've been working on some entertainment and some new additions to the festival. And we're still working out some contracts, so I can't quite kind of talk about some of our new additions quite yet.
Nice.
But it should be some good, fun, different things.
Well, you're going to have a lot of performers, and like you have in the past, and some entertainment on the main stage, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
so
that's
we'll have some.
It's a little early to see who's everybody's going to participate, though.
Yeah, we have some people that have already been booked. So we will be having back our folklorico dancer, and at the end of the festival, the students that participate in learning the dances will present on the stage. We also will have Rock Laram, who's the traveling, juggling, and stilts characters going around the festival.
He's great.
Yes. And we also have Fremont High School's Bollywood dance group that will be coming and performing a Bollywood dance up on the stage.
Wow.
And so we're working on a couple other acts to fill in those other spots.
Well, you brought some pictures with you, so let's take a look at some of the pictures of past events, and you can talk about them when we show them, okay?
Right, great.
Yeah.
Let's see some of those pictures that we had.
All right, so here we have Mr. Green teaching kids how to draw Olaf the Snowman. This is one of the very popular booths here at the festival. And this one is held outside on the grass.
Next.
Next.
Next, this is one of our very popular ones, is the button picture frames. And you also see this little boy also experimented at our face painting booth where we think it's important for the kids to experience how to face paint themselves, so they all take turns instead of waiting in a really long line.
Wow. Next. Aww.
Here is the McGraw Irish dancers that came last year. This was their first time at the festival, and we're hoping to have them back.
They're so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here is some of the folklorico dancers performing on stage as well.
This is the main stage.
This is the main stage, yes.
Ah, vegetables.
Yes,
vegetables.
and
I know this event.
Yes, the vegetable painting by our lovely host, Darlene here. Very popular as well. This is our fairy houses. So these are built out of wine bottle corks and different. This is our Japanese brush painting on the bottom, and then on the top are two community murals that were designed and painted at one of the festivals in the years past. And this is a young girl learning how to do Japanese art brush painting.
Aw, she's cute.
And this is done by our Parks Division. This is a sculpture art where the kids get to hang up string and hang up different things. And every year it looks like a different magnificent piece of sculpture.
By the end of the day, it's just a mass of string. It's unbelievable.
And this is one of our silly snakes with Mark Whitney.
And he'll be showing us how to do those, right?
Yes,
Ooh,
and this is some of the ballet folklorico dancers from a previous festival waiting their turn to go perform on the stage. And last, this is a young girl who's working on learning how to make a yarn ring.
Wow, those are really nice pictures. Thanks for bringing those. Now, Mark, you have grown up with Hands on the Arts, so tell us how you got your start, and please tell us about your mom and what she did for Hands on the Arts.
Sure. So, I had a unique experience of being a participant. So right when it was first getting started, I was one of those little kids walking around and doing all the different crafts and having fun. And I'm sure still in the garage is probably some of my art from back then. And then I ended up being a volunteer with Hands on the Arts, so I got that perspective on it as well. And we have really hardworking volunteers. Then I ended up being a staff member and went around and helped set up and tear down and do all sorts of things with them. And then eventually I ended up doing my own little craft and became an artist with them.
Well, tell us about your mom.
So my mom worked with the city of Sunnyvale, and she was a recreational coordinator for them. And she started off in the arts and participated in Hands on the Arts for running the program. And that's how, I went through all those different roles. Her role also evolved, and she did teens and youth, and then she finished up her career at the senior center, working with them. So but she always participated in Hands on the Arts each year and always enjoyed that event.
Well, she started it. I mean, she was there at the very, very beginning, right?
Yeah, she was one of the originators of it, and back when they were just trying to figure out.
31 years ago.
31 years ago, yeah. So she was working on it and trying to figure out how they'd set this up and how they'd market it and how to get the artists and get everything kind of put together. And she did a great job with it. She always liked it. A lot of hard work. A lot of people work very hard with the city, the volunteers, the artists. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Well, it was 2 days.
It
In
was.
those days, it was 2 days.
It was 2 days, and I remember, after the first day, you're wiped out, and you go, oh, geez, I got to come back for the second day. And I remember us trying to preserve all the workshops, and you'd go there in the morning thinking that they were preserved, but things would get blown around and moved into various areas, and you always had to kind of recreate it and then go into the second round of supplies. And I know often, too, for some of the popular ones, they would run out of supplies, halfway through. So
And energy.
well, yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
I remember
saying.
those days. I was one of those people outside in the outdoors in the sun and everything, and some of them just couldn't take it.
Yeah, it's exhausting, It's
For 2 days.
For 2 days,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, one day. It
One
wipes
day's
you out
fine.
and- yeah, one day's enough.
Well, you did start, you weren't the first one to do the snakes. You took that over. How did the snake project get started? It's really clever. How did that get
Yeah,
started?
my sister actually came up with the idea, and I'm not sure, how she kind of got it, but she.
Your sister.
Your
Yeah, my sister. I'll
Oh, I
give
didn't
credit
know that.
where
That's
credit's
clever.
due, and then I thought it was such a clever idea that it'd be fun to kind of share it with the festival and with more children. And so I asked if I could go ahead and do it. And she said, yeah, go ahead. And so she was, good enough to share her creation, and I pass it on to.
Well, you
everybody
made
else.
some improvements, I would imagine, over the years. Did you add to it then?
Yeah, so we had to make some modifications, for some of the younger kids. And, the craft that was created was originally for classrooms and older children, kids in 5th grade, 6th grade, and up, because of the way that you end up working some of the supplies and the rest of it. And so one of the things that she had in there was a hanger wire, and that was to make the snake bendable. So, one of the things we do is we use ties and we convert them into snakes. And so, having a longer tie, you can, it takes a while to get the stuffing down there, and then we hot glue gun the eyes and a tongue onto it. And so what some of the modifications that we did is we end up shortening the tie for the kids, because this just takes way too long. I found that out some of the first times, and it also gets very frustrating for the kids because they try their darndest,
That's
and you
hard.
can't do it.
Yes, yes.
It is possible. I've seen some of these kids that spend a lot of time, and they're so proud of what they accomplish, and it's fantastic because they can do it, and I admire their patience. But for the younger ones, they just want to get it done and move on. So what we tend to do is we end up shortening it for them. So that was our first modification. We'll tie it off and we'll cut the tail and just give them a shorter snake. That way they have the feeling of accomplishment and achievement.
Sure.
The other one that we do is we end up not doing a wire in the snake for most of them. We had that as an option for a lot of the kids, but it took too long. My volunteers ended up doing a lot of the wire in the snake, and that's to make it bendable. And what's amazing to me, so we can do different snakes for making them bendable, and I always thought that was kind of neat. But what I found with a lot of the kids is they actually like to sleep with the snakes and cuddle with it and have it as a stuffed animal.
I'd like to do that.
They like it wiggly, right? They like it to kind of just be soft. And so I was real surprised that a lot of them preferred not to put the wire in there. So that was something, it was one less step that we had to do.
So they don't have to put the wire in if
Most
they
of them
don't
prefer
want
not to, yeah. For the older kids, they seem to like it, and some kids like it. The other modification is my volunteers tend to do the hot glue gunning for the tongue and the eyes and the
So
closure
it's
of the hole.
evolved over the years and gotten better and better and better.
Well, I see this as a fashion statement. For me, I'd wear it as a scarf. Don't you think it'd be a great scarf?
Oh, absolutely.
Why not? So why don't you give us a little demonstration on what you're going to do? How do you make a tie into a snake?
Sure. So, you know, it's fairly straightforward. The first step is to go ahead and select a tie. Generally, you want to select ones that are wider, have more durable stitching, shorter, and then the more colorful the better. But you know, each kid has their own little unique perspective, and I never found one that didn't really work right. They're all very creative, very clever, colorful. Then the next step is stuffing. So for kids, they always have to find a gap, right? And there's a gap in every tie. Sometimes there's a stitch immediately there, and sometimes we just have to pop that stitch for them. We can either typically do that by hands. If it won't give, sometimes we'll use scissors just to get the opening. Then from there, what we'll do is we'll get stuffing. Originally we used cotton balls, but cotton would be kind of pricey, and really you can stuff it with anything. And in the past, when we were trying to be recycling and use green materials, we've used styrofoam that we just crumbled up and used that. We've used other ties that we've stuffed in there. You know, when we start using trimming and materials. But typically what we end up doing is we'll use polyfill or fiberfill. You can get this at any kind of craft store. It's relatively inexpensive. This can use stuffing for a number of different ties. I never quantified it, but it's probably around 5 to 10 ties that you can get, or 5 to 10 snakes that you can get out of this.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we'll start stuffing, and we also have dowels that we'll use to help push it down.
Push it.
Yeah. So we'll let you get started there,
Okay.
and come back to you. And James, now you're better known as Mr. Green at the
Green, yes,
festival.
yes.
Good to have you back again.
My pleasure.
So how you're going to show us your drawing technique. So how many years now have you participated?
This will be my
participated?
6th year. Yes, I'm happy
6
to say.
years,
Yeah,
huh?
6 years.
Wow, well, it's good to have you back.
How did you get started with hands-on the art?
Well, I've worked with community centers in different cities for the last 15 years, and so I think my name just kind of got buzzed around there.
So
and,
they went after you.
Yeah, they kind of came after me, which I didn't really struggle either. It's like, okay, yeah, let me try this. For me, hands on the art is actually one of the highlights of my summer too. I mean, it is kind of a busy day, but the next thing you know is 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, and the kids are having fun. So for me, it's a blast. Really, when kids come back that have been in the previous years and go, hey, Mr. Green, and you're kind of like, okay. And then they say something. You go, I'm the one that did this. You know, and amazing. I try to do subject matter that they're like dealing with. Like this year, I'm going to do some of the characters from Inside Out, because last year when I did the Frozen thing with Olaf, I think I did Olaf maybe 15 times that day, and it was by the end of the day I could do Olaf backwards. But it was like a big thing with the kids. So it's like I try to keep it that way, and really like try to simplify it so they can see just how easy it is to draw.
For the children coming through this festival, what do you hope to achieve in your
Well,
workshops?
for me, it's like
the
I think I'm trying to show the kids how easy it is to draw,
Okay.
and I'll take them through like the easiest thing to do is just to make a mark. You make a mark, you turn that mark into a shape, you take the shape and you build something from that. And then for them, once they start with the coloring, they become very creative and they want to add extra stuff to it. So like that just feeds me. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever, let's just go with it. So I'm having a blast, you know. And in fact, I barely have time to eat lunch just because it's going so fast. It's just, but I love it. It's kind of at the end of the day, I kind of, but in the process, I'm just like, that's a blast.
Can you show some of the techniques you'll be using?
Sure. For me,
to help them draw.
As I said, I always begin with basic shape. And for like doing this Hobbs, I would start like with just an oval. And the way I like this is because you don't have to be accurate with it. You just start with basic shape to help you get the placement on the page. Oval, a circle, circle for the ear, half circle for the other ear, circle for his nose, just lines for his arms, circle for his fists, and this side a triangle, oval for his legs, and ovals for his feet.
Yeah, all
The
kids
tail
can
just
draw
comes off
those
like
shapes,
that.
and so you show them how to put them together. Then,
Exactly.
right?
Just, and the process
Oh.
goes pretty fast, you know, because once they get started, it's a kind of a confidence builder for them because they're thinking like, I can't draw, but anybody can draw.
But you
And
can
just-
draw squares, circles, and triangles.
And they
though,
don't
right?
have to be perfect shapes. That's the cool
Yeah.
thing about it. It doesn't have to be a perfect square or a perfect circle. You just start with the shape and just build it from there. And then once we start with the color, you cover all your mistakes up anyway. So
Well, we'll get back with you
Okay.
too.
I'll get to work here.
Darlene, let's hear about what you're going to be doing at the Hands on
Well,
the
sure.
Art. We have to definitely cover your project.
So as the painting gourmet, I like to think of different topics and themes and present them to Hands on the Art. But there's one thing that's always going to be a common denominator, and that's painting with vegetables. So we have potatoes and celery and carrots and broccoli. And last year I did Monet. This year I was trying to think of something to do, and I was outside cleaning in my yard, and I came across these bones, if I can get them out. So I came across these bones, and I thought, whoa. The first thing I thought of, well, they look a little weathered. I think the squirrels got to them and had lunch a little bit. But I thought of Georgia O'Keeffe and her Bone series. And I thought, oh, yes, Georgia O'Keeffe. Now, she's gone through many phases. She lived to be almost 100 years old. And she went through all kinds of phases in her art. And I think probably the flowers are her most popular that people recognize would be that. However, for me, I really like the Bone series. And Georgia O'Keeffe loved New Mexico. She loved the culture, the people, everything about it. And she lived there well over 40 years. And so for her, she would see bones around. And that sounds a little strange, but you know, when you think about it, first you have the cow bones, but before the cow bones, you had the buffalo. And before you had the buffalo, you had the dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs roamed free all over the place in her ghost ranch. And so it's not so odd when you think about that. So she thought of these bones as being like symbols of the West and symbols of the desert. So with that in mind, I decided to come up with my own symbol for Georgia O'Keeffe. So behind me, we have this tortoise up here. And that's the way I see it. It's my feeling, the tortoise. That's my feeling for Georgia O'Keeffe. The tortoise has a lot of wisdom, and he knows that to endure the harsh terrain and everything like that, he has to be pretty smart. So along with that, also, he's known for his longevity. And those are two traits that I see with Georgia O'Keeffe. Now, in the background is her favorite mountain, Pedernal Mountain, and that's her favorite mountain, and she was very comfortable in her environment. So that is my feeling for Georgia O'Keeffe. Taking it one step further, I have the foot of the tortoise in the sky, and I really think that if Georgia O'Keeffe had found this bone, she would have taken it home and eventually painted it, and if she did, it probably would look something like this with the mountain, her favorite mountain, in the background. So children can paint these if they would like to, and then more likely they will want to do Georgia's paintings, some of her well-known paintings over here on this display. So they have their choice. So that's what I'll be doing, Georgia O'Keeffe.
Well, let's see how you're doing, Mark. It looks like you're coming along. With
Yeah, I got a good portion of it stuffed already. As you can see, as you start to get a little narrower,
You're
it gets
fast.
challenging. Well, I got a little bit of a head start. So just putting the finishing touches on it, you know, all the ties that I've ever seen have a pocket right at the front, which is nice because you always end up loading the head and it flares it out. right? And that kind of is what presents you and gets you your head right there. And then that's when you get eyes, which you can pick up at any craft store, felt paper, and you can go ahead and cut one of these fork tongues. And if you do manage to get to the end, you know, we always shorten it for them, but you can also flare out the tail as well, and that makes a kind of unique little
Let's see one
piece.
of those faces
Yeah,
held
so-
up a little bit, just kind of
Yeah, so
so
we
the camera can get at it really
Can
well.
you get a close-up of that
of the
so they
face.
can see that?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a doblet of glue on either side, and the kids get to choose their tongue, their size of their eyes, and then we put one on either side. We'll close up the opening so we don't get any, you know, stuffing coming out. Sometimes we have to do some surgery as well on any pop seams. And we just do the final touches on it, and then we give it to the kids. And
Does the staff kind of do the final touch?
they do, because of the hot glue. You know, we don't want the little ones to risk
burned or
burns or
anything.
anything. So my staff works on it, and it's always great to see the finishing product. I mean, I think what you touched on, Darlene, and you know, the other artists, is that, you know, art can be anything you want it to be, and it's my favorite art is always stuff that I get from my kids, what they make, and always seeing them make their own.
When we see the kids come around, you know, to our booth
I
or to
love those.
Darlene's booth, they'll be carrying their snakes, and they're just, it's a treasure. They just love their
Really
snakes,
is.
and they look really good. And I wondered,
Yeah. So where do you get your ties from?
Well, the city works on collecting ties, and they'll put bins all throughout the senior center and the library and a few
so
other
they
locations.
welcome donations.
We do need donations. We do need volunteers. So a lot of folks have some old ties that they don't tend to use anymore. So we
Really?
do collect them. And that's how we try to get majority of our ties. If we come up a little short, we will tend to visit Goodwill to see if we can, you know, make up some of our ties that way as well. But it's gotten challenging in Silicon Valley because folks don't wear ties as frequently.
yeah, I had that. Was wondering as have the current fashions probably put a damper on the
Skinny
number
snakes,
of ties you
fat
can
snakes.
collect.
They
Old
do.
ties.
They've gone to these slimmer ties and you know, less durable ties. So when you start stuffing it, the seams get popped. So we like the long, or the shorter, excuse me, the shorter wide ties is what we
Oh, you
prefer.
like the
want
wide
old
ones, fat snake.
1940
Skinny
ties.
Yep, those are the ones that we really are looking for. So,
So people can donate those.
but we'll
yeah.
take any. We're
Yeah.
not choosy.
Yeah.
We'll make them all work. We always have.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Doug's had a couple ties that were a little bit questionable, you know, maybe a little bit more than PG, so I bet you have to watch out for that. He has no idea what I'm talking about. Well, you know, when you travel, sometimes you get some really unusual ones. So, James, how are you doing over there with your project?
I've got the Hobbs working, and got Calvin just starting to bring out the basic shapes in him, and then I just keep going in and bringing more accuracy into it, more detail, and then at the end, then we let them color.
Do
And
the
so-
kids kind of follow along? Do
They do.
follow along with
they
you?
work it really, really well. They track right along with me, and I make it a point not to go too fast. I kind of like let them set the pace, and I have great volunteers as well. So my volunteers, they may draw a lot of for the smaller kids, and but again, once they've got it down and they get to the coloring part, they have a field day. It's just kind of like their own special thing.
Well, you're volunteers too. You probably get a lot of artists. I know I get a lot of artists at my booth. You
Right,
get a
yeah.
lot of artists, and they probably just love to help out.
They, you know, I'm like, okay, let the kid do it, okay? Just kind of pull back a little bit. So, yeah, they do. The volunteers really make the festival for me too. I mean, they just they do so much work that it would be hard for me to work it that way, especially when you have kids that need a lot of help. My volunteers are like giving them colors or giving them paper, giving them pencils. If the wind's blowing, they're chasing papers and bringing it back and all that stuff. So it helps me just stay focused on what I'm doing. And so it makes it just so it works really, really good.
So what is the subject that you get the most requests for? I know the children can tell you what they'd like to do. What is the most popular subject? you get?
I'll get unicorns. I'll get princess. For the boys, I'll get alligators. I'll get dragons.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, oh, dinosaurs too. There's a dragon, dinosaur, and volcano.
How do you handle that? How do you handle that when you get this kid asking for that and that? How do you handle all that at one time? You can't possibly.
Well, let's say if I'm working and I got a bunch of kids working a piece and another kid walks up, if I'm kind of like midway through, I give them the option of either joining with what we're doing or waiting for the next round.
Oh.
And so that's the other thing too. The kids, whatever kid is there first and they pick it, then they take the drawing. So that's kind of like a draw because they all want, so sometimes they'll come back and then I just do it that way. I just kind of like whoever is there first and they ask, then that's what I do.
That starts, and then other kids can join in.
Oh yeah, they come back with their little buddies. You know, next thing they got a little posse there, and it's like, well, can you do this? And again, I have kids that come from 3-4 years back.
Oh yes.
That say, I still got this thing on my wall. So it's kind of like, it's kind of gratifying, and you can see that their skill set has improved over time because it's kind of like you're setting a seed.
So besides Hands on the Art, you also teach elsewhere. So where are you? I think in July you have something coming up.
I have 2 camps that I'm doing for Villa Montalvo. I'm doing a first camp June the 20th through the 24th. They're a week long from 9 to noon. And then the second camp is going to be July the 11th through the 15th at Villa Montalvo.
That's an art camp.
Art camp.
All day or
Just 3 hours.
3 hours?
From,
Wow.
from 9 a.m.
That's
to
great.
12, yeah.
And this is your first time at Montalvo? Or
This
you-
is my 4th year up there as well.
Fourth year.
yeah.
That's wonderful. So on your website, people can find this
Yeah,
out.
at jamesgreenartist.com.
Yeah.
You can look at my schedule and see where I'm going to be and all that.
Oh, great.
Well, how long does it normally take the children to go through your workshop? I know for Mark it's can be what, about 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, we tell the kids about 20 to 30 minutes, depends on how much time they want to spend on stuffing.
And that's what I'm doing. I'm going for the 20 to 25 minutes as well.
25 minutes. So,
Sometimes they'll want to stay in color, and I'll let them do that, but I'm trying to cycle them through because...
So you cycle a group at a time.
Exactly.
And, then you're gonna
And
do
even
a
if I have like say 10 or 15 that's doing something, I've got another 5 standing by, then by the time we finish with what we're doing,
This has been so much fun. I'm sorry, but we're out of time. And I want to thank you all for being here. And I know that we're all looking forward to Hands on the Art. And Georgia, you may have passed, but your art spirit is alive and well at this year's Hands on the Art. This is for you. Thanks for watching the show, and watch again. Oh, we actually ran over a little bit. We could keep going. So what do you think of my bones here? Does anybody know what this is?
Did you actually find that like in your yard?
No, I found it on
okay.
a hike, and this is the
Oh,
joke.
okay.
It was really big and lush and so forth. I mean, but seriously,